Alright, so all the major stuff from D23 is kind of come and gone by now, so I'm going to go ahead and finally give my thoughts on everything instead of doing 17 different small videos about every single little bit of stuff that's going on. I figured I'll just do one big one and cover all the stuff that's actually important, at least to me. So I'm going to start with the smaller stuff, just the Disney itself things. There was some stuff, I think there's like a trailer or some footage of some sort from Frozen 2, which is awesome because I'm very excited for that movie. If you know me, it's actually one of the movies that I'm looking forward to most for the rest of this year. There's some stuff for Mulan, which I couldn't honestly care any less about Mulan. It's just another live action Disney remake of a classic. You know how I feel about those. There is also some stuff about their Pixar movies coming up, Onward and Soul. Those are both coming out next year. I don't know anything about Soul. I know very, very little about Onward other than it's Chris Pratt and Tom Holland in some sort of fantasy mythical world, and it looks like it's got potential. That's all I really know about it. Good for Tom Holland, though. I mean, he's got Spies in Disguise. He's got the Uncharted movie, if that ever gets made, and he's got Chaos Walking, which is probably never actually going to come out. But he's moving on beyond Spider-Man already. He was also in the current war. Good for him. Movie sucked. But moving past that, let's get into the Marvel stuff. Now, because everybody that was in the room was probably asked to bag their phones, there's not a whole lot of bootleg footage that I could find, but I know that there was a trailer or a teaser of sorts from the Black Widow movie that involves her fighting Yelena. I don't know her last name, Yelena, but the blonde Black Widow. And it looks like that could lead to some more information about, her Red Room training, all the conditioning and stuff that she went through to actually become the Black Widow, which is very good. I think I've heard talk that the movie is set between Civil War and Infinity War while she was, on the run. While I do think that's possible, because who's to say that she immediately linked up with Steve and then they started doing their covert ops or whatever. Maybe she was just on the run for a while. She gets like a call or a note or a threat or something from Eric Masters, who is Taskmaster, and then all of that stuff goes on. Because as much as I would love for it to be set way back and be about her origin, Scarlett Johansson looks like she's in her late 30s, and it would be very expensive to de-age her the entire movie. So I imagine that there will be intermittent flashbacks that show off her origin and her backstory and all that stuff, rather than just being set 25 years ago, which is probably for the best. But they also revealed the full cast for Eternals, which now includes Kit Harington as Black Knight and Richard Madden as somebody. So again, good for Richard Madden getting out there, getting his face on posters and stuff, being in huge movies. I'm happy for him. Still, I don't know anything about the Eternals, so I don't know how to feel. I don't honestly care too much. I will just wait it out, and we'll get there when we get there. Now, the Disney Plus shows being Miss Marvel and She-Hulk and Moon Knight, 67% of that I couldn't care less about. I don't really care all that much about She-Hulk as a character. I've never found her overly interesting. I've never been like, oh, She-Hulk, I gotta go read me some She-Hulk, and it's not because she's a female character, okay? It's just that I just don't find her interesting. Same way that I don't find Totally Awesome Hulk to be interesting, or the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. It just doesn't speak to me. I don't need to defend myself, whatever. But Miss Marvel, also don't care, because Kamala Khan is just not a very interesting character. But I'll tell you what, Moon Knight, I've been wanting some love for Moon Knight since the Daredevil show came out on Netflix. Ever since I realized that at least somebody at Marvel was willing to go deep and dark and mature with a comics adaptation of any of these characters, I was like, we got to get to Moon Knight. We got Punisher, and I was like, we got to get to Moon Knight. Because Mark Spector is an insane man. One time he cut off the face of a drug dealer because he sold to kids. he mounted it. He was just like, hey, this was going to happen to you. So yeah, he's a psychopath. He's a criminal killer, and I love him, and he's great. And I want the people behind the show to treat the character with some respect. Now, I've already heard reports that the show is going to be TV 14 rather than TVMA. That I'm not too worried about because it could still be graphic, it could still be hardcore. It's just you just put the camera in a different spot and you don't put CGI blood in that particular frame, whatever. Not too worried about it. I just want them to treat the source material with respect. I want it to be TVMA so that they can be boundless to do whatever they want with the character, but again, Daredevil was TV 14. I think the first 2 seasons, and I think the third season was TVMA. It was still very dark and very gritty, very mature, so I don't think it's impossible to do Moon Knight justice, but I'll tell you, that's the third most interesting show that they've got on the slate. Now, hopefully we can just get a Nova show. And by the way, this makes 8 shows just about Marvel on the streaming service. I hope it doesn't get too crowded, you know, because you got Hawkeye, you got WandaVision, you got Loki, you got What If, you got Falcon and Winter Soldier, and now you got She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, and Moon Knight. I get that that's probably like 2 to 3 years worth of content, but it's still just like, that's a lot of shows that you're going to be dumping a lot of money into. So just please do be careful. And now finally getting to Star Wars news, they put out a new poster for the public to see of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and it's very intriguing because it looks, again, like the focus will be the conflict between Rey and Kylo Ren, but I'm pretty sure that's a misdirect because you can also see the Emperor in the background. I don't know what the Emperor's involvement is with this whole thing. I really know very little, but I do know that there was some footage shown off of Rey wielding a double-ended red lightsaber, which I'm pretty sure I also heard about The Last Jedi now that I think about it, but until we get a second trailer for this movie, I will reserve judgment. I would just say the poster looks very cool because it's hand-drawn, and I love me some hand-drawn posters. That's pretty much all I have to say about Episode 9. There's not too much to go on. Kenobi, the second show that I'm most interested about. I think there's a lot of potential in a 6-episode series that is set during the same basic time period as Solo. The only thing is, I don't know if I like that it's called Kenobi, a Star Wars story. Solo ruined any possibility of other prequels having a cool name. It's always just going to be blank, a Star Wars story now. I don't know why. I guess it's simple, but it's just, it also comes across as extraordinarily lazy. I'm not a huge fan of it. But I think if we have an Adventures of Kenobi on Tatooine, while he's just like raising Luke, blah, 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 watching over and protecting him, or whatever, I think that could be pretty cool. Mostly because, I know Rebels has already talked about this, but I mean, at the end of Solo, as you all probably know, Darth Maul shows up. He's like, blah, 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 blah. So he's probably going to be going after Obi-Wan Kenobi. The thing about Rebels is it's over, and we don't really have to treat it as ironclad canon. We can change it up a little bit because I mean that show also introduced time travel, and nothing else that's on the slate has really talked about time travel so far, so I don't really think we need to worry too much about what is or isn't canon from Rebels. So I think that it would be cool if the main antagonist of that show ends up being Darth Maul, not because I think Darth Maul is overly cool, but he's undeniably gotten a resurgence lately, and it would just be foolish of them to ignore that in favor of something else. So they should definitely have a little bit of Jabba, have a little bit of Han Solo, maybe a little bit of Boba Fett, a lot of bit of Darth Maul. I know that's only 6 hours worth of television there, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for a lot of interesting stuff. But last, but most certainly not least, The Mandalorian. Good golly, The Mandalorian looks like a masterpiece. It looks like it's going in such a hardcore direction for Star Wars as well. I mean, there's like heads on pikes and stuff. The trailer has absolutely sold me on this show. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for it, honestly, because I don't think that's Han Solo. I don't think that's Boba Fett on the show, but it would be cool if it was. Also, IG-88. I know it's not technically IG-88. It's a different IG droid. I don't care. It's IG-88. But it could also have some Dash Rendar. Maybe not. I know it's supposed to take place between episodes 6 and 7. So it's like a Fall of the Empire, Rise of the First Order type of thing. Which could be great because it could contextualize how the First Order came to be in the first place. But the direction looks phenomenal. That part where the guy gets cut in half by the door. beautifully brutal. I honestly feel like this show has the most potential out of all the Disney Plus shows. I I already love Jon Favreau, but just knowing how good this show is, at least selling itself to be, it's almost enough to make me want to get the Disney Plus streaming service. I'll probably wait until the whole show is finished, get a free trial, and then just binge watch the whole show and then review it for you guys. But honestly, that looks like a very formidable foe in this whole resisting the Disney Plus service thing. I still know very little about it other than just the fact that the show is about bounty hunters. But hear this, right? What if it was that after he was swallowed by the Sarlacc pit, Boba Fett crawled his way out, he escapes, cuts his hand off to get free, like in the EU, gets a mechanical hand, goes back to bounty hunting, and then it's like, oh, he killed Jabba the Hutt, because nobody knows. It's just like, he killed Jabba the Hutt, right? So now there's a huge bounty on him. There's like 10 billion credits or whatever for whoever brings in Boba Fett. So he has to lay low, change his identity. Now he's just a random Mandalorian, and nobody really knows who he is. And then in the last episode, he speaks, and it's the same actor that played Jango Fett in the old movies. I don't know his name. I'll probably put it up on screen. But it's that same voice that they replaced the original voice with in episodes 5 and 6. And then you find out that it is Boba Fett. Right? Like, that sounds stupid. Oh boy. But that is my rapid fire quick thoughts about the Disney, the D23 stuff. At least everything that I know about. But what do you guys think of all the announcements and trailers and teasers and casting and all that stuff? Do you think it's cool? Do you think it's worth checking out? Especially the Disney Plus stuff. What do you think about all that? Do you think it's worth getting this $12.99 a month streaming service with the entire package in it just to watch these shows? Or are you not quite sold yet? Whatever it is, whatever you think, you know what to do in those comments. Educate me, because I want to know. I want to know every single waking detail about your life. I want to know your place of employment. I want to know your point of origin. I want your social security number. I want your weight. I want a blood sample. I want a saliva sample. This has gotten a little out of hand. But until next time, kids, remember, hugs, not drugs.